Okay. um, I have the question about this wide like this wide vision of evolutionary. So the question is about this developmental thinking, like how like this magic thing that you did, and I noticed that you do it. Like you notice that in some bodies, some developmental patterns are more expressed, and some developmental patterns are less expressed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's somehow connected to like to the way of interacting with the world outside.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do while you're working, so is the question actually, what are you doing with this, and how you notice this, and how this developmental thinking helps people to be um, more expressed in the world and more clear.
Well, in one way, it's very simple.
Uh-huh.
In another way, it's all my years of experience. But the developmental patterns, for example, the developmental patterns once you're born start with the spinal. So when you have issues that have to do with the spine, you'll probably look at the spinal pattern of development. And then when we explore the spinal pattern of development, we notice that it starts, see if I have anything right here. It starts with like an arc. It's like the baby's curled. It's like this.
Mm-hmm.
It starts in like a, it starts in like a C shape. And then it goes from like flexion to extension, whole body.
Mm-hmm.
So, say if I had a client and I'm like, there's something going on that they don't have a unified sense of their spine. It's very simple. It's like, it's in their spine. There's a break somewhere in the spine, like this is moving, this, they're going like this, like they're hunching, or they're not connecting all the way through the spine. In some simple way, it's like, oh, that spinal pattern, the early one, where they need to learn to connect through the spine, through the cranial sacral fluid, through the bones, through the discs. And then, so that's almost like, that's very simple, except then teaching it takes a lot of playing around with it, getting to know it in your body so that you can, and how to touch it to help someone else feel that cohesion in the spine. Or say you have someone that can't do spirals, they're always like, they're moving, they never cross their body, and they never cross. Well, then you might just play with them with patterns that cross and see if they can do it. If they can't do it, you go a pattern underneath it, which is, what do they need to finish in a pattern that goes side to side? So these are things when you're a dance teacher, or you're looking at your own movement, or you're like, I can never turn to my left side, I always hurt myself or something. Or you can look at these patterns and go, oh, I don't think I really reached with my foot, or things like that. And so there are basically only 4 patterns in the developmental patterns. Is that answering your question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's almost like you can create exercises for yourself or others. You can touch people in ways that they can explore different patterns. Or like we did last time, we did a lot of pull. And so pull is one of, the yield, push, reach, pull is just one of 4. So each person will have a different expression of either, can I be present with something without doing anything, which is hard for the people who push. Because the people who like to push a lot, they don't just hang out and decide what you're going to do. They're like, I'm here, I'm going to push. So for them, learning yield is sometimes really helpful. Like, oh, you can just show up. You don't have to push. You can just show up and be present with me. Or reaching, like a pushing person might always do something the hard way. Or then some people who are reaching all the time, they might avoid real interacting with something which has to do with condensing, feeling self. And so these 4, the yield, push, reach, pull, they go through all the patterns. So each pattern, the spinal will have each of these in it throughout the development. And it will, like, once you get to the reach of the spine has to spiral. So, and it goes from full body connection to articulation. So it's a very, very, first of all, it's true, and it relates to how we engage. Like, first the baby's like really busy inside, and then when it comes out, it's like, ah, or it comes out, it looks around. And then as it learns to differentiate and choose more how it relates, or do I want to look to the left or the right, that's a big step. Like, you don't have to take your whole body to look to you don't have to move your, you can like just turn your head. Actually, a lot of grown-ups still turn their whole body instead of moving their head. So it's true, these patterns are true, but they're also kind of, what do I want to say? I don't know what I wanted to say. I'm going to say they're simple again. Like, if you can't connect your lower left to your upper right, then you're missing a diagonal. Or if you're always doing diagonals and you never just kind of go stand, you're always, maybe some ADD kids are always like, they're never just stopping and the weight goes through both feet, which is homologous. You slowly start to learn, like, oh, if I let the weight go through one feet, that gives me more of a sense of stability. So some kid with ADD that's going around there, like, you don't have to, like, I don't know, say they're bad or say they're too whatever. You just kind of go, hey, you want to try this, or you want to try reaching and hanging from your hands, which would be a reach with both hands, on some rings, and just give them a different sense of stability through the torso and the body, and strength, and sort of the monolithic, here I am feeling, which they're kind of like, they're like doing all this. So it's not like we're trying to change them, we're just giving them like new fun ways to experience stability. And because we're improvisational, we're not saying sit down to feel stability or be quiet. We're like swinging, or we're pushing with both feet. I mean, there's so many ways to do the same pattern of both hands or both feet. So once you have like an idea of these patterns and you keep playing with them, you'll get to know them. Because they're neurological patterns or neurocellular patterns, meaning once you do them, they bring up a whole connection of perceptual engagement with the world. that you feel, that you notice. They're like, oh, now I want to like be really strong. When I have used both hands, I want to be really strong, or I can push away really clearly. Like that's in the movement itself. You don't have to like go through and think it. You just have to go to the movement, and then you can feel it in yoga, or feel it as a psychologist, kind of go, oh my God, this person never could say no, because they would go, you know, they would push themselves away instead of pushing somebody else away. And so it's a playground.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll be introducing, that playground.
And I see that there is this amazing connection, like when we're doing very simple action with the body, it immediately brings us into different state of neurosystem.
Yes, it does.